Signore e signori, buonasera, benvenuti alla Casa Italiana Zerilli-Marimò della New York University. My name is Stefano Albertini, I'm the director of Casa Italiana, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you all here tonight for the first event of the series Addressing Style. It's our fourth year, I believe, with Addressing Style. As you know, it's a series conceived by Grazia D'Annunzio and Eugenia Paulicelli, and it features presentations regarding Italian fashion, art, style, architecture, and design. And we're very happy to have a chance to start this year's series with Fabrizio Ferri. As we normally do, Grazia will have the pleasure to introduce to you our guest, and I just am going to tell you something about Grazia D'Annunzio, who is the special editor project for Vogue Italia here in New York City. Grazia comes from a background in classics, and she also was deputy editor of Vogue Italia before coming to New York. And I do not have the words to express my gratitude to Grazia and Eugenia for creating this series. Once again, I want to repeat that they do this out of friendship for Casa Italiana and out of their enthusiasm for Italian design, fashion, and style. So my personal gratitude comes also with the recognition of your applause. Please welcome Grazia D'Annunzio and Fabrizio Ferri. I forgot just one thing. As in other places they tell you turn off your cell phones and shut down all your electronic devices, I'm inviting you to turn them on and log on. These are the information if you need to connect to our Wi-Fi network, and tell people where you are, what you're doing, who are you about to listen to, and if you want, tweet some of the things that come out during the conversation. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, please have a seat. Thank you everybody for being here, and thank you, Stefano, for your nice words. I'm really honored to have my dear friend Fabrizio Ferri here. Fabrizio is, let's say, the modern version of a Renaissance man. You're gonna, explore and find out how brilliant he is, not only as a fashion photographer, and also Fabrizio is a, big fixture in our magazines. I mean, in Italian Condé Nast publication and American Condé Nast publication. He has worked for American Vogue as well for Italian Vogue and Italian Vanity Fair and Italian GQ. And on a personal note, I really would like to thank him, Fabrizio's wife, Geraldina, who's here with us tonight, because she really made it happen. So, thank you. And let's start with this first photograph, because Fabrizio didn't start as a fashion photographer, but in the 70s, he used the camera for documenting the social and political tapestry in Italy and also in Europe. So you work as a photojournalist, and I would like you to start talking about your first experience. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes?
Yes?
Yes.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. So, the reason why I started shooting these pictures is that they actually go back to 1970. Is because a school friend of mine was in love with darkroom, and had his parents buy him a darkroom, and he asked us, his schoolfellows, to shoot photographs so he could have fun printing them. So I had no idea of what I was doing. I borrowed the camera, went to a demonstration. 1970 was demonstration everywhere, and spotted a professional photographer, and easy because he had 4 cameras hanging from his neck. I had my uncle's contacts borrowed, and I said to him, "Would you mind telling me how to set this up?" And he went like this, and then he said, "Okay, well, wait. So don't touch this." It was the shutter speed. Don't touch it. Don't go near it. And then you see this gear. Just go towards the smaller numbers every hour, 1 notch every hour. So, thank you. And then I walked away in the middle of the crowd. And then I turned and I saw him looking at me, and he smiled and said, "Buona fortuna."
Good luck.
So, little you know, 4 years later, that luck brought me here with you tonight. So, shall I keep?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So I walk around, and of course, I'm not taking pictures. I don't know what to shoot. And until I get to the first row of this demonstration, where everybody was kind of leaning against the fence, looking up to where they were having a speech.
I'm gonna go
It
back.
was
So you're gonna...
to go to the
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
It was dusk. It was just after sunset at San Giovanni. Beautiful diffuse light, and this is a similar picture. It's not the one I'm going to describe you. And in the first row, there was this man, obviously a countryman with beautiful skin burnt by the sun and beautiful, intense blue eyes. And he was looking up towards the light, diffuse light of the sky, because he was looking at the people giving a speech. But his son was on his shoulders, and he was leaning with the chin on top of his head. Like that wasn't enough, the wife was holding his arm and leaned the head. So I look and I go, whoa, and I see these 3 heads, and in the background, 500,000 people and flags, and I take the camera, do boom, and that was my only shot. First and only shot that day. So the reason why I'm telling this elaborate story is that that day I learned what I still do today. I learned that you don't take a picture until you feel something. And that day I took that picture for the simple reason that I felt something, and that gave me a good reason to share through that picture my emotion with the others.
That's great. You also went to Russia when you were young, right?
Yes,
and
yes,
we
yes,
have some photos of this, a reportage that you did in the
Still
Soviet Union,
1970,
right?
yeah, in the Soviet Union.
And why did you ended up there?
I ended up there because I wanted to study Russian. I went to the university, and I had
We have some
one
Russian.
lesson.
I have some Russian friends here, by the way.
I went and I had my one lesson, and I remember that the teacher, I'm not going to tell the name of the teacher, he's very famous and great professor, actually. He sat down, lit his cigarette, and said, "The Russian language is as long and as deep." It took more time than I'm taking now. Otherwise, you're going to go to Russia. And of the railway from Moscow to Vladivostok, It took him about literally 3 minutes to say this. So among puffs and cigarettes, so I said, I stood up, went to the Italtourist. It was the one agency, travel agent, that would deal with traveling in Russia. And I asked them, do you need photos of Russia? And they said, yeah. Well, who's going to want to go there? I said, me. So they set me up, yes, to go to Russia. And I went to Moscow,
St. Petersburg.
St. Petersburg at the time, Leningrad at the time, in Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Dushanbe, Samarkand, the Lake Baikal, Bratsk, Irkutsk, Omsk, all over. An amazing trip. And then I got back, and I continued doing my work, except I started doing some photographs that were not just what I had in front of my eyes, but they would tell something that I had inside, like this picture here. And at the same time, I went traveling in London.
Oh, yes. Let's go to London.
Where happens this? It happened that this is my very first picture shot in London. That
when did you go to London? In the mid-70s?
It was still 1971, I think. Yeah, and I was traveling, and shooting photographs in the streets in London in the beginning of the 70s. Whether you like it or not, fashion would just go boom right through your lens onto your film. And people that started seeing this kind of photographs and the following ones started to buy them not because they were a political statement or they were telling a story of what was happening in the squares, in the political scene in Italy or elsewhere, but just because of the real costume meaning, fashion and what was a irrelevant thing,
yes,
that was
and style.
happening and it was definitely fun.
So is when your shift into fashion started? Is when
I
is
had
in London?
this photograph here, the ones just before this one, in my portfolio. Portfolio was kind of pictures put together, and one day I realized that I was spending more time selling the photographs than taking the pictures, than shooting them. So I said, this can't be. At the end of the year, my job is to sell the photographs. That's not right. You go around, you shoot a story, you come up with a story, 30 images, you go to one magazine, they buy 2. You go to the next one, you have 28 left, they buy 2. Then you have 26. And the story is always less complete, but nobody buys the whole story. So in the end, you're left with a lot of prints in the drawer and a lot of time spent around trying to sell the photographs. I said, how can I do my work with someone that asks me to do it, that commissions the work? I said, well, probably fashion and advertising. So I bought, for the first time, I actually didn't buy it, Grazia. I regret to say this.
You rented.
I borrowed it, Italian Vogue. Look at the address. And it was Piazza Castello 27. It's still the same address. Something didn't change.
Yes, it's where Vogue actually started, Piazza Castello 27. We just moved to Cadorna, as you know, but
okay,
we still have some offices there in Piazza Castello. Yes.
I took the train, second class, go up to Milano, walk right in and say, here I am, and I say, who are you? Said, I'd like to see the person in charge, the art director. And they said, well, you have an appointment. I said, no, I don't have an appointment. And they said, well, then it's easy. You can't see him. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to sit right there, and I'm not going to move until I see him. And then everything froze. I sat down, and 45 minutes later, Roberto Carra, who then became a dear, dear friend and a great photographer, came up, really angry, really upset, didn't look at me, just took the portfolio, went like this, he opened it up, and the first thing he saw was a demonstration with people hitting on drums and flags, and then he looks at me and say, like, what are you bringing me, And he keeps flipping through, and then he goes, Fabrizio, la donna di Vogue, the Vogue woman, doesn't smoke, doesn't curse, and doesn't. Okay. So
the famous three-letter
of course,
word.
I look at it and say, well, then I'm out of here. I mean, what am I doing here? And I said, but before going, I just want you to think on what you said. So he burst out laughing. He looked back at these photographs and said, could you replicate these photographs? I said, what do you mean? He said, could you do this for us? I said, yes, of course. To me, it was just a black stocking in front of the lens that made the difference. And he said, well, so let me call Bruna Rossi. And I got the first assignment.
All these names. Yes.
And it was an advertising for Kalosci, for Vogue, and then I did the first editor, and then.
And also there is also, these photographs also has an interesting story.
This was sold probably 50 times. Over and over and over. 50 times that I know of. It's a photograph of, obviously, a woman, and I knew her, she was a friend. And this photograph was published for imaginary illnesses, for articles on the pill, articles on solitude and loneliness, and articles on women abandoned, or simply on thinking and that I'm aware of 50 times he got sold this picture. Very dear photographs to me, very dear photographs.
And actually, it's interesting because, see, I mean, in this photograph, like in many other photographs that Fabrizio took, and there are fashion photographs, fashion is not a carousel of trends. He doesn't use fashion to present trends, but he uses fashion as a vehicle to address emotion and also in your photographs there is always a nice balance between purity and sensuality. Like, let's see, this naked picture series. This is a book that Fabrizio published in the late 80s, and the naked women in front of the camera. I mean, I think that you can tell a lot about it because it also implies a peculiar way of working. That is interesting.
You'll see, there is a series of these photographs followed by a fashion series, which is the turning point of my work and also my career. And it's incredible how you can pinpoint a moment where everything happened. So I'm working at the time for Donna, for Vogue, and I see these beautiful girls coming into the studio.
They're all very famous models from the 80s. This is Marpessa, for instance. This is Brigitte Nielsen, is Rocky Balboa's, Sylvester Stallone, first wife. And she is another model that I don't remember. She's Jasmine Le Bon, Duran, Simon Le Bon's wife. They're all famous, models of the 80s.
And also, whether they were famous or not, they would come into the studio, beautiful, beautiful girls. They go into the dressing room, and they end up for an hour or two in the hands of a makeup artist, of a hairdresser, and a stylist, and they come out. Let me stand up, I'll show you how. So, and the question they used to ask me is, what should I do? How do you want me? And I look at them, and I don't even recognize them. The hair all done up. They have a cardboard in the hair going one way. They have these clothes that are all...
Remember in the 80s, the career woman, kind of style was extremely popular. So big shoulder pad, you were very boxy. Big hair, think of career work, working girl with Kathleen Turner. Mm.
And... So I said, this is not possible. I'm actually also taking very bad pictures because I don't feel anything here. So I said, okay, I'm going to start doing a portrait with no fashion. So these are not simply nudes. There is just no fashion of every girl that comes into the studio. And they're shot with, most of them with the negatives of the Polaroids, 4x5 Polaroids. Then I had the Polaroid immediately to show my team of makeup and hair and the stylist, and I would go into the dressing room and say, you see this woman here. Now, don't change them. Don't change her. The key word here is respect. I want this woman enhanced, and I want her not to feel silly when she puts something on that you put on her. This is not just a model. This is a woman. It's a young woman, and needs to be respected. So I shot this series of portraits, many more, and then from this I went into the first story that was called Simplicity, which is this.
And it's very radical. I mean, you can see, and it's pure and it's very simple, but back then it's very radical, especially if you know a little bit of fashion photography. What really he did was, kind of revolutionary in terms of image. The hair and the makeup, and this very simplicity, purity.
Yeah, this makeup was actually invented for this years by Francesca Tolò and then Fulvia Farolfi. They went on in their careers, and they're wonderful.
Yes, look at that.
And if you look at any magazine in the first half of the 80s, it's a different world. It's a different world.
I really would like the people that are, standing up in the back. I mean, we have some, not to go away. Stay with us, and I really would like them to feel a little bit more comfortable. We have probably 2 or 3 seats still available, so You know, if you want to sit down, please make yourself comfortable. This is Aqua. Aqua Water is the second book that Fabrizio published, and actually is the first book that he dedicated to the fourth elements of that we have in nature, and he published also air, aria, and terra, earth. He didn't do fire yet. So why you decided to do, a series of portraits with water incorporated? Why water, and then why earth, and why these elements?
This is one of those moments where I have to start saying stupid things, because the reality is that I have no clue of why I started doing this series of pictures, and I think your call is probably better than mine. You would know why better than me. I got used, to this kind of questions, so I started saying that to me the water is birth, but it's also death. It's something that protects you, but also drowns you. All bullshit. All what I did was to notice the way water doesn't melt into the body and just creates, at a certain angle, it creates that line around the skin, So, and this sensual element, and that's not me saying it, it's water is just the symbol of everything, took my attention one night after sunset, and I decided to do the book. Now, there is a little, if I may tell a little story on this. The most difficult thing, the only difficult thing in doing this book, that was done in 6 sunsets, 6 hours, was the cast. I tried all the famous models and actors, actresses that I knew, brought them all the way down to Pantelleria, throw them in my swimming pool, that's my swimming pool there, and put them in the water and ask them to come out. Now, every single one would go like this and would fix the hair. Everyone would go like this. And everyone would come up wondering how they look. It was something I couldn't win on. So in the end, I found this guy. It was his first job. His name is Jimon Hansen. He went on to be a very good actor. He's the one that did The Island, Black Diamond, Amistad, a lot of films. And Patricia Velasquez, who also didn't rub her eyes and didn't touch her hair when she came out of the water. She was coming, out of the water and was one thing with it and just letting the water slide off the face, off the limbs, off the body. He couldn't swim. So that was the only thing that I had to sort of struggle on, is this fear of drowning. Because my pool is very deep, and to get that reflection, I couldn't really go where he had his feet, touching, and so.
And now is a couple of pictures here. There are a couple of pictures of Earth with Christy Turlington. I particularly like this one for its intensity, and she looks like a kind of modern Anna Magnani. And it's a Christy Turlington is, another iconic model. And why did you choose her for Earth?
Because
she's so.
It's a challenge, She's like perfection, And when you see a face that is that perfect, it reminds you of a lake. It's peaceful, clean, but you need a little stone you throw into it, and the surface just starts moving. And I said, that's what Christy is missing. She's missing life. So I talked to her and I said, would you, it was for free, of course, she wasn't getting paid.
Right.
Now, would you come all the way down to Pantelleria again to do a book called Terra? And she said, yeah, of course. So we went.
And here is another.
Here to do this picture, there is on the island, there is a grotto where there is steam that comes out at 80 centigrade. It's like a really hot steam bath. So I put her in there and I left, and I went back half an hour later. I called her, and that's how she got out of this little opening in the stone. She was devastated, but that's the picture we could take.
And here is another intense beauty, and a long time of Fabrizio, and Fabrizio photographed her all through her probably years, and probably you recognize her, Isabella Rossellini. So this is probably the first photograph.
This is the very first picture of Isabella, shot in 1975, not just by me, but it's the very first picture, the very first assignment, the very first job. I met her in the street, and
they're both from Rome.
We're both from Rome, and I saw this beautiful face, and we got to talk, and I said, I have to do a picture of Bulgari jewelry for English Vogue, you know, would you care, you know? And she said, yeah, of course. So we went, and we were both a little, you know, it was my very first time shooting Bulgari jewelry in the streets, because I always wanted to shoot in the streets.
For Vogue, for
Vogue.
Vogue UK.
And 1975. So we got all these armed guys at the time with machine guns. So, you know, it wasn't exactly, you know. Anyway, we shoot this a series of pictures. I send them to London, and someone in London that sees the pictures calls me and say, "Is that the daughter, the daughter of Ingrid Bergman?" I said, "I don't know." I only knew her name was Isabella. So I called Isabella and say, "Are you?" And she said, "Yes." Well, okay. And
then you became very good friends.
Very good friends, yes.
Still now you are very much in, you know,
we're best friends.
together. Yes.
And also Geraldina became very close to
Isabella.
And now Isabella only calls Geraldina.
It doesn't call you anymore. And this is a very wonderful, actually a very nice portfolio, wonderful portfolio of Isabella. This is a kind of Vermeer quality. I mean, the light in this picture is so beautiful and soothing. Another one of Isabella very young, and other photographs more dramatic. I still remember a series that Fabrizio gave us to Italian Vogue, and we used as a title
this is
quote,
my favorite.
a quote from Francis of Coppola, who says, "Isabella is a dream." So, who is Isabella for you?
Truly, she's a friend. Isabella, it's this, you know, someone can swim with their dogs, and you can jump in the water with her and take a picture, and then at the same time, she's the most sophisticated woman on earth. You know, so she's got this incredible 360 degrees in beauty, but also presence, intelligence. And to me, you know, we worked so much, but what she really is a friend.
Mm. There is another great beauty, Monica Bellucci, that Fabrizio photographed many times, and especially I would like to show you this one that is kind of hyper sensual and yummy. She's covered with caviar. So can you tell us how she got all naked for you?
Yeah. Well, this was a cover for Esquire, and it was about the five senses, six senses, whatever, how many there are. There were a lot involved in this picture. And so it had to be about taste, and so we decided to cover her in caviar. You know, except I didn't tell her. You know, she showed up, and I said, you know, I'll show you what you're going to be wearing, and I came out with these boxes of caviar, and something you may not know of Monica is that she's the funniest woman I've ever met. I mean, she makes you laugh. The moment you see her, she's so funny, she makes you laugh. And what she did when I showed her the caviar, she laughed. And, you know, again, we knew each other a long time. I have on set always a very respectful atmosphere. It's starting from me, but also everybody that surrounds me, that works with me and adds to the team. And she had no problem. She took her clothes off, and we started, not me actually, but the hairdresser and the makeup artist started, you know, putting the caviar on. Now, I shot this photograph. It was just 2 or 3 frames. And then the point was, what are we going to do with this caviar? So, being the spirited woman that she is, she went first like this and said, "Here, have some." So imagine 10 seconds later, everybody was going like this, then going like this, without any second thought. You know, it was just, let's not lose this caviar. Let's not waste it. Yeah.
So we have.
Yeah. Very young here, Monica.
Yes.
Yeah, like 17.
And it's nice to see how, you know, the Fabrizio style also evolved during the years, and he was able, and how he's able to capture different moments in someone else's life, and some, you know, actually the aging beauty. So, talking about celebrities, Fabrizio is also very famous for photographing a lot of celebrities. Is it more difficult to get a celebrity in front of you and get a great portrait of a celebrity, or is it more difficult to photograph a model? Or what is the difference?
Well, the main difference is the fact that when you photograph a model, you choose the model, you cast the model. When you photograph a celebrity, they choose you. They want to know who's the photographer, and if they like it, they show on set. Otherwise, they say, I don't like that photographer, bring someone else. But by the time they show up on your set, they chose you, they do whatever you ask. They do anything because they trust you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. They're not looking for surprises.
Yes, is also true. In gazines of fashion magazine, for instance, when you have a celebrity, the celebrity might suggest, and the publicists, they are, you know, very powerful right now, they can impose the photographer. And sometimes you have to say yes, because in order to have the star on the cover who's going to make you selling a lot of issues, a lot of copies, you say yes. And normally are great photographers, so it's not difficult, for instance, for us to say yes.
So when you photograph a good model, she knows what to do. So it's hard to break her, because she goes on set, she looks at the light, she looks at the camera, she looks at the outfit, she takes the picture. She knows exactly what to do. So to break into that, you have to do something very drastic, and it's not easy. You have to get to know her, you have to really know her, and then you can do something that is closer to a portrait, which is what I do, than a fashion photograph. With a celebrity, it's not like that. They don't look at the light, they don't look at the lens necessarily, they don't know what the hell you're doing, and they're very upset because they're not acting. You know, they're not doing anything. So they're usually bored, easily bored in front of a camera, and you gotta be fast. But to me, it's easier to work with, I prefer to work with
celebrities.
It's not that I prefer, it's easier to work with a celebrity than with a great model. Because it's more difficult to do your own photo of a great model than it is of a celebrity. Do I make any sense here?
Yes, absolutely. So let's, you know, scroll, and for instance, Penelope and Antonio. This is a very nice one.
I got another story.
Yes,
so,
yes, please.
So we are in Los Angeles in the studio, and these two come in. Penelope has her wrists are as thick as this mic. I mean, they're so skinny. And I have everything set up in the studio, and I feel so stupid because it's set up. And I don't see how I'm going to bring him and her on a set that is set up. You know, so I said, let's go outside. There was a beautiful diffuse light in the parking lot. And so they had to squeeze between a parked car and the white wall. And I had to lean on this car to try and take these photographs. And I had them close to each other like this. And then I said to him, look down. And he looks at me and says, why do I have to look down? Why me? You know? And then he goes, oh, okay. And he goes like this, you know, thoughtful. I take one shot, and that was it.
Congrats. And what about this?
Yeah, this is what you want to say. This is Cindy Crawford.
Yes. And Julia is a very good friend of yours, right?
Yeah. Became a good friend, yes.
And this is Susan Sorando. That's
great friend of ours, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, I really like this because it's so vibrant. It seems that she's talking to you, or she has to, you know, about to say something.
Yeah. Ecco, here I have a story. The other ones, I don't have many stories, but here there is a story. This is...
Ted Turner.
You know Ted Turner, CNN. And of course, he doesn't come to the studio. You go to the office. So I go to the office to photograph him. And what I do, though, I bring a black backdrop, and I put it right behind his chair in his office. He's not in yet. Appointment is at 3. So I set everything up. At 5 seconds to 3, the door opens really slowly. And so it's 5, 4, 3. He walks in reading something. 2, 1, folds it. I'm Ted Turner. So I said, Fabrizio. I shake hands. He looks at me and goes, "You have 12 shots." So I look at him and say, "How about 1?" So he doesn't know if I'm pulling his leg or what, and he goes, "Let's do 3." I said, "Okay, let's do 3." So remember that I'm used to taking my pictures with 1 shot because I was a photojournalist. So he sits down, he looks at me like this, and I go, click, and he goes, 1. So I go, click, and he goes, 2. And that face is he thinking, this guy is really pulling my leg. I mean, he's really going, you can see that killer face with that smile. He's like, I'm going to bust this guy. I mean, and then I go, click, 3, and I say, done. And then he goes, my kind of guy. Shook my hand and left. Never seen him since.
Beyoncé.
Yeah.
Ryan Kruger. And this is one of my favorite also because was the cover of the first cover of Italian GQ. Sting and Madonna. Sting is an old friend of yours, and Madonna is also a good friend. And how did you have them together? I mean, it's not easy to have 2 big celebrities like that.
I'm noticing
on one, on a set.
More and more, you're saying old friends of mine. That's what happens when you live long. Everybody is a friend and then become an old friend. So, with all due respect to Sting and Madonna, Sting is an old friend. What can I say? Yeah.
How did you get, them together? How did you?
We were at Sting's place in Tuscany, see, and Palagio, and then Madonna was there, and then I said, "Come together. I have to shoot the first cover for GQ, and I want to do a snapshot. I don't want to do a."
And of course, it got sold out in Italy in a couple of days.
And I think the good thing is that you have to do the first photograph for a cover of the first issue of a new magazine, as important as GQ. You want to try and make a statement. And that's when you really screw up. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to do a snapshot and try to get some life into this. And that was it. That was 1 Polaroid, 1 shot.
Another interesting chapter of Fabrizio's life and career is his, love and the deep involvement in ballet and dance. And he photographed gazillions of dancers and also choreographer. And this is Roland Petit and Zizi Jean-Marie, who's Roland Petit's wife and is a great dancer as well. So how did you meet them?
I met them because of my passion with ballet. They were introduced to me by Alessandra Ferri. Mm-hmm. And Roland Petit, to me, he passed, a few years back, and he's a genius. What he's done on his choreography, it's so moving, so extraordinary, so unique, that it stays I don't want to even say unsurpassed, but just unique. So I have to shoot his portrait, and his wife is there. And if you come back back one. So I shoot this photograph, and with the hands of the wife, and then I asked him to close his eyes, and he sees the picture and goes in tears and hugs me and says, Fabrizio, you have to promise me that when I die, you're going to publish this photograph. And he actually died, and nobody wanted to use this photograph. So I haven't, it's unpublished. And then it stays like one of the dearest photos I've ever shot. This and the next one of his wife, who's alive, and his hands.
Great legs, Gigi Marie, and great wardrobe, all Saint Laurent, by the way.
Yeah.
And also Fabrizio has a very deep involvement and a great collaboration with American Ballet Theater. You normally photograph all the dancers.
Yes. On the 2015,
but you
we're going
also,
to celebrate 10
you
years of...
are celebrating a couple of anniversary with the American Ballet Theater, right?
Yes.
I mean, your 10th next year.
Yeah, the 10th year of me working for American Ballet Theater, but it's also their 75th anniversary. So I'm doing a book for them, photographing all the dancers and the titles and the artistic director and you know.
So we have a little selection.
That's the artistic director. Yeah.
This is
Polina Semyonova, wonderful, wonderful dancer, good friend of ours too.
And Fabrizio Bolle, who is
Roberto Bolle.
Fabrizio Bolle, sorry, Roberto Bolle. Roberto is one of Fabrizio's favorite subject, right? You photographed him many, many times. And also he directed 2 amazing videos with Roberto Bolle. One, Passage, that you did for Vanity Fair, Italian Vanity Fair, during the Venice Film Festival last year. And he also composed the score of this, wonderful video. And the second one is called Rethink Energy, and you did it for Annie, right?
Yes, yes.
And we have a little surprise, actually, it's the first surprise of this series. We would like to show you these 2 videos that Fabrizio did with Roberto. Aren't they powerful? They are, right? So
that's
why
I moved, because I didn't want to be here.
So tell us about these 2, great project that you did. And,
and
you seem very easy with the camera, with the video camera also in your hands. Not only.
I think the most incredible thing is the fact that when I got the call from Vanity Fair, they said, Fabrizio, it's going to be our 10th anniversary. Do something special. I said, what? Well, you got to do a film with Roberto, but do something that stays, something that... I said, but like this, no, completely free? He said, yes, completely free. Aside from a few budget issues, but we used to handle those, this was incredible. I mean, imagine like a magazine like Vanity Fair, they ask you to do something special, wonderful, that remains for their 10th anniversary and respects the talent of Roberto and my work and trusts it to the point that they don't give you a theme, a script, and this is what happened. I have to say that what really happened is that when we showed this in Venice at the Fondazione Cini, there was this beautiful chiostro, beautiful, and there was a table with 300 people going across the lawn of this chiostro, and on one end there was the big screen. And of course it starts raining. So everybody goes under the arches of the chiostro, and this starts. And it starts, as you heard, with a big thunder and the sound of rain. And it was raining. It was actually raining heavily. So nobody really understood what was going on. And then they look at the screen, and there is rain. But there is rain between us and the screen. It was magic. It was magic. And actually, all of us were a little wet, too. So,
And the second one, Rethink Energy, where Roberto is, he's flying physically.
That was, and again, I'm not going to tell you what's the story in Passage. Someone told me, a good friend told me what the story was, and I just happened to agree, but now I'm not going to bother you with that. And with
why? No, tell us.
Because he said, well, what did you mean to say with this story? And I looked at him, my eyes went wide and my mouth open. I said, I don't know. What do you think? And he said, well, I think this is the going through life, and we run and run and run, and we go through many fights and many difficulties, and we keep running and we keep running and we keep living until there is one moment that the liking ones, in which the liking ones decide to stop. To stop and consider taking the ultimate struggle, the ultimate fight, which is the one within ourselves, with ourselves, our own selves. And if you have the guts at that point to go deep into yourself and use all your life to find finally yourself, stop running, you'll find harmony. So that's not his girlfriend or a woman per se, it's finding harmony within yourself, within your heart. And then you die.
And you agree with this,
Yeah, I'll die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I hope you're going to be around us for at least another 50 years.
So I really agree, I happen to agree with it. For Rethink Energy, again, that was another amazing job because Annie commissioned an art piece that was supposed to be this video. And the only theme they gave us was energy. And it was easy to think of Roberto as energy because you see him flying around, jumping. And I said, this is not it. It can't be. This is silly. Because if I film this Roberto jumping, doing his wonderful, all we're going to feel is that he falls back onto the floor. All we're going to feel is the lack of energy because of gravity. So the only energy we're really going to see is the one of gravity. And I said, this can't be. So I thought, what about if he becomes like a statue that is free in the air and all of a sudden, because of this inner energy, moves, but never goes down. It just moves, creates this movement up in the air. And then something that was unexpected also happened, that you may have noticed that it almost looks like there is a planet or the earth in the background, and then he's up in the sky. Well, that's just the floor. But the glow of the floor. And I didn't really notice it until we went into the edit room. And in the editing room. And then I said, oh, well, that's interesting. He's flying. But that wasn't thought. It was something that happened. Oops.
Thank you.
Talking too much, huh?
No. Actually, I'm really enjoying it. I hope you're going to enjoy everything that he's telling us because it's so interesting and thoughtful. So this is another project that Fabrizio did, another book that he published. 10 years ago, actually, he published 2 books and he organized an exhibition. And he photographed buildings, rationalist building, architecture. And how did you come up with an idea like that? Because you are a fashion photographer, you do a lot of celebrity portraits, and photographing architecture is not the same thing.
There was
it's not that.
There was Bulgari was launching a watch that was kind of inspired by a deco feeling in design. And we were breaking our heads on what are we going to do to launch this watch that is not someone like this. And we came up with the idea of the book because at that time, following the deco, within the deco, there was this incredible form of architecture called rationalism, which was expressed in beautiful buildings in Germany, France, Russia, and Italy. In Italy, actually had its most wonderful examples, built. The problem is that because of this architecture being drawn, being partly commissioned, and certainly being built in the years, from the 1930s and 40s,
during Mussolini period, during the fascism.
Architecture was built during fascism. So it went under the name of fascist architecture. So it also went hidden since. I mean, you didn't study this architecture at the university. So
At least in Italy for many, many years.
I said, this can be. This is at the most dramatic page of our history and of our country. But if we are not able to tell the difference between something good and what's really bad, if we put everything together, this architecture with the evil, the terrible, meaning for our country and the world, the tragedy of fascism, if we put them together and we're not able to make a distinction between the two, well, then we're weak. We have to be able to tell what's good and what's bad. So we published this book. It was, a lot of things happened when we published the book.
On a lighter note, we would like to know who is this girl and why she's, in this kind of unorthodox pose.
So I'm there shooting for GQ, and I have to shoot now.
Italian GQ.
Naomi Campbell. So Naomi shows up, and it's a. I didn't know what she was going to be wearing, but it was a designer story, and she gets dressed, and she looks really silly. There is, I don't know what got into the stylist, but she dressed her up in things that they say, why Naomi? You know how I think now. So I see Naomi, who can pull any dress off, but she goes in front of the camera and does what I told you: looks at the light, looks at the clothes, strikes the pose, and wonders why I'm not shooting. And I'm not shooting. You're saying, what am I doing? It's meaningless. So I say, look, this can't be. We cannot do this. So I talked to Naomi and said, Naomi, this fashion is not for you. She goes, well, I can pull it off. I said, I know, but it's beyond the point. This story is Naomi. Let's do Naomi. So we take all the clothes off, and then she still knows how to deal with her body. So I had to break into this. Now, when you look at this picture, the real thing you have to imagine is me showing her this pose. That's probably the less glamorous image you'll ever imagine and think. Is me trying to show her how to do this. Also, I couldn't really do it, but she did it beautifully, and she was laughing her head off, and that's the story.
And you photographed Naomi again.
This ended up in the cover,
yes.
By the way. Yeah.
And this is a wonderful photograph of Naomi when she was very, very young. And here we go with Sting.
The old friend.
The old friend.
Yes.
So how did you meet? And I know that you are involved in gazillions of projects together. So at least give us a couple of that you think that we would like to know.
I can talk.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. You have to. Thank you.
Someone calls me and goes, I have a friend that wants to go on vacation. His name is Sting, and he wants to go to Capri, and we would like to know if you think it's a good idea that he goes to Capri in August to spend his vacation. So I said, it's a great idea because I think he's going to have a wonderful house, so there's not an issue if he doesn't stick his nose out of the house.
Right.
They said, what do you mean? I said, but he can't walk around in Capri in August. It's the end of his vacation, So they say, says, can you suggest another place? I said, no, Italy is the most beautiful country, but there's plenty of places. I wouldn't know which one to suggest. And they say, but don't you have a place in Pantelleria? I said, I see where you're going. I said, yes, I do. So how about if he comes to Pantelleria? I said, okay, sure. So I have this little compound with a place for the guests, another group of houses for the guests. He arrives.
Il monastero, the monastery.
Yeah. You can see it online, monasteropantelleria.com. And he arrives with the family, daughters, wife, pregnant 8 months, and secretaries, dog, everything. Guitar, friends. And they arrive, and I don't even go to see them because I think they need privacy. So 1 day goes by, 2 days go by, 2 days go by, and on the third day, his wife, Trudy, walks to my house and says, I'm Trudy, thank you for having us. Sting would really like you to shoot his picture. I said, oh, come on. I know you've been kind. It's August. He's on vacation. He doesn't want me. Trust me. He doesn't want me to shoot his picture. She goes, he does. And I said, no, don't worry. I'm on vacation. He's on vacation. That's not what he wants to do. But I really appreciate it. So, she goes back. The next day, Sting arrives and goes, I'm Sting. I said, well, yeah, hi, nice to meet you. So why don't you want to take my picture? So I said, I do, okay. And so I call my assistants, they come and we shoot a book called The Family of Sting and Trudy in Monastero in Pantelleria. And this is a series of photos from that book.
Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah.
Oops. Again.
Yeah.
And
You can imagine we made friends after this.
yes. And we're going to go back to Sting, at the end.
Aspetta.
Yes.
So he stayed 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell this story.
Yes.
And at the end of the month, we played together. We had some fun as well. At the end of the month, he said, I have a present. So will you come over for dinner? I said, yes, of course. So I go there. We have dinner. I'm waiting for this present, and imagine a box. So after dinner, he takes a little, at the time, cassette player. It was 1995. He puts it on the table where we had dinner. He has a little black book. He opens it. He goes, play. It's his guitar recorded. And he starts singing. The lyrics were written on the book. The entire Mercury Falling record that he wrote in Pantelleria at my house. So his present was to sing the whole album after dinner. And heck of a present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
This picture, which is again one of my favorite pictures that I ever shot, is inspired. I actually asked him to shoot this picture by one of my favorite songs. Look, I'm getting, just thinking of this song. It's called 1,000 Years. Mm. And this is a little story here too.
Yes, please. No. We have time.
Okay, so I was supposed to go with him to India to do a journey in Tibet, and then I couldn't go. Couldn't go means how stupid I am, because I should have gone. So he comes back, and I'm waiting for him at his castle in north of England, outside of London. And he comes, and we go into the studio, and he goes, Fabrizio, listen to this. And he takes the guitar and goes, tin, 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 tin. I'm looking and say, wow, something happened in India. Tin, tin, tin. I said, can you hear this? I said, yeah, I can hear it, but tin, 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 tin. I said, I don't know what he's eaten or what he's whatever, but it wasn't good, And then, tin, 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 we plug it into a VG8, which is something that you can use to play an orchestra sound through the guitar. And this tin, tin, tin became 1,000 Years. Please go and listen to this song. You hear the tin, 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 which doesn't sound like a tin, tin, tin anymore, of course. And it's just as wide as a holy river, and that's why we shot this.
Thank you. And again, the water, as we know, is a recurrent motif in Fabrizio's photographs. And he also published a book of Fontane Romane, a wonderful series of Roman fountains. Look. So when did you do this project?
The year that Wojtyła died.
We don't.
You don't remember?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
2000,
and 2005. Thank you, Stefano. And 2005. Okay. Fabrizio worked a lot also for corporation and fashion houses, and he did gazillions of advertising for Lancome, McDonald's, Dolce Gabbana, to name the few. To name few of them. And but it's with Bulgari that he established a very strong collaboration. And if you want to tell us about the Save the Children campaign that he created for them.
I'm telling you the story because it's interesting, because otherwise I should really shut up now. They come to me saying, Fabrizio, we have to get an idea to sell these rings, because a percentage of the money we make with the sale of the rings will go to Save the Children. So they say, we have in mind to shoot photographs of celebrities, but the thing is that they'll never want to wear the ring. So what you should shoot is some portraits of celebrities and then the still life of the ring, which will go on a separate page. And I said, but that's so hypocrite. Who's going to go for it? So they said, but we can't pay the celebrities to wear a ring because that's advertising. I said, look, I'm going to accept to do the work only if you let me do it my way and you let me deal with the celebrities. So I said, okay. So the idea behind this is that when you talk to a celebrity, you say, you're here because we want to sell this ring. So your job is to help me sell this ring, and we have to advertise this ring, so you have to wear it. And what you have to say is stop, think, and give. That's the purpose of this. So there is no hiding, there is no money involved, we all work in pro bono, but it's the right time to do it. Don't be shy. What you're doing is pure advertising, but the purpose of this advertising is to bring money into the pockets of a great sponsor, which is Bulgari, and ultimately of Save the Children. Everybody went for it. We now shot about 300 celebrities, all like this. And
over
$30 million went into to Save the Children in 2.5 years.
And here is a selection of celebrities that Fabrizio, convinced to Oliver Stone, and you probably recognize a lot of them. She's Margaret Madej, a very famous Italian actress. Renzo Piano, our beloved Renzo Piano. Chris Martin, Roberto, Ben Stiller, and again Sting. And we are almost at the end. And another thing that you probably don't know is that Fabrizio is a wonderful composer. Fabrizio plays instruments, but not only that, he composes music. He, for instance, again, wrote the score of Passage, the video with Bolle that we just seen. And he also composed a contemporary opera, Anima, Soul, which premiered in 2010 at Teatro San Carlo in Naples. And it's not a hobby. I think that is another career, a parallel career. So tell us how, you always said that if you, didn't become a musician, a photographer, you would be a musician. So tell us about this great passion that is more than that.
First time I have to disagree with you.
Okay.
The most dangerous thing is to develop a passion. Because if you develop a passion, for instance, into photography or music, and you mean to do the job, you mean to be a photographer or a musician, you have to face too many frustrations. You have to face too many setbacks. And the passion ends up working against you. But you can develop a passion out of your own work. You can develop a passion out of what you're doing. So it works the other way around. The passion is a fruit, the passion fruit, that comes from within the satisfaction of a job well done. That's what it, when the passion comes out. Otherwise, you hear parents say to their, you have to find a passion, saying to their sons and daughters, you have to find a passion. But what if you don't find a passion? You're ruined, for life. Right? Where's my passion? And so that's a dangerous statement. So I never had a passion for photography. I developed a passion for sharing a vision. And I never had a passion for music, but I always loved music, which was deep in the roots of my family. Imagine, my grandfather was a conductor, and he's the first conductor, Italian conductor, to ever do a jazz recording in 1922 in Italy. Music has been in my family.
How many instruments do you play?
I play badly. Guitar, piano, bass, drums, some other. But the amazing revolution, that one of the most incredible things that digital brought to us is the possibility of writing music, imagining it, and writing music even if you don't know a single note for every instrument. Now, said that, you can write terrible music, but that happens even if you know music and even if you play beautiful instruments. I don't happen to be a good musician, but I happen to love writing music. I've been doing this many years, over 20 years, with one person that programs all my inspired efforts, and that's Roberto, who is sitting right there.
Bravo, Roberto. Thank you. So tell us about Anima. How Anima came?
Anima came out of I started writing music, and then I was reading stories, the dramatic stories of all people moving from one part of the planet to another part of the planet, from one part of the earth to another part of the earth, in search of a better life, or more simply, in search of a life. The movement of people from one part to another part of the earth is the history of the mankind. Whether that movement was spontaneous, whether it was forced, whether it was running away from disasters, hunger, dictatorships, racism, and illnesses and hunger, it happened, and it still happens. So, to me, writing this music and reading about all this and being aware of all this became more and more clear that this music could help me tell the story of the effort of every single one human being that lives his life to become a better person, that takes that journey forward, not only to become a better person, but to leave the earth in better conditions than when he's found it and he came on it for the first time. So that's called Anima, soul, and it's about 20 tracks of music, all recorded. You'll probably hear one of them.
Yes, we will. And you have to tell us what is, the song that we're going to hear and who's going to...
It's called Where Do They Go? Little, it's exactly what I was telling you about. It's people that start this journey. You know how many people start the journey nowadays from North Africa, trying to make it to Europe, to Italy, and to what they consider a more civilized world, but anyways, what they consider life. And that arm of Mediterranean Sea, that narrow stretch of the Mediterranean Sea, the deepest, with the fastest currents, is a tomb. There isn't a count of how many people lie at the bottom of that ocean. Officially, it's over 100,000. But that's what we know of. There is so much more lying down there at the bottom of the ocean. So this story of Anima tells about this journey And that's what also this song is telling us.
And the other singer is Sting, and the music is by Fabrizio and Roberto. Julian, can you please?